So my first encounter with the other side of death, if we want to call it like that, was when I was 24 years old. In 1989, my husband committed suicide. So I just need to give you a tiny bit of background before. By that time, we were actually separated because our relationship had gone pretty violent and actually life-threatening for me. So I had no more news of him for maybe a few weeks. And at some point, I actually started shaking, and I was shaking constantly for about 4 days. And I was staying at my mom's at the time, and I remember telling my mom, Jean-Luc's going to die, and this is why I'm shaking. And my mom got quite upset, and she was, well, don't speak like that, why are you speaking like that? And we knew he was psychologically very disturbed. He had already tried to commit suicide twice in his life, when he was much younger, when he was a teenager. But it's like I had this knowing inside of me, and this knowing was so strong that, as I said, I was constantly shaking and becoming very distressed. I was also planned to, the following week, to go and live in Haiti in the West Indies, where my sister lived, in order to actually remove myself from this very difficult situation with my husband that had been going on for the last 2 or 3 years, with lots of violence and instability, and him going more and more schizophrenic. That's one aspect. So I was really afraid that he was actually going to die when I would be in Haiti, and that for me would have been awful, because I wanted to not be that far away if really we were going to face the fact that he was going to die. So on I think it was the 4th day of that shaking and that awful knowing of he's going to kill himself, he's going to die, I woke up very early, around 6 a.m., something like that probably, and I went to the kitchen. I had something to drink, and I must have had a very high level of anxiety inside of me, and I went back to sleep, and I had this vision in my sleep. For me, it's my first vision of the other side, if we can use that language, where suddenly I saw Jean-Luc, I saw my husband, but on a level of energy. I didn't see him physically, I didn't see his physical body, but it's like I saw his energy field. And his energy field was, it happened quite quickly, was going through a complete collapse. And this collapse was also the merging of his energy field with a much bigger energy field. And so there was the collapse and a simultaneous integration with something much bigger, which was of the same nature. It's very difficult to put in words. I've since learned about the vision of the Amerindians, who talk about when you die, your spirit merges back with the great spirits. We can use the language of science, which is merging back with the quantum field, or consciousness, our own individual consciousness, re-merging with a bigger consciousness. But it's what I experienced. Then I heard the phone ringing, so I was in that sleep, a morning sleep, very disturbed, having had this vision, and I heard the phone ringing. And when I heard the phone ringing, I instantly knew it was the phone call to tell me that Jean-Luc had died. And can't really remember because it was a long time ago, but just saying it, I can just feel my heart pounding in my chest, and I would imagine this is what happened to me. Actually, before his energy field collapsed, I was very aware of his energy field connecting with me. It was connecting in a quite aggressive manner, but there was definitely a point where, bam, I received his energy very, very strongly, and then that collapse, and then that merging. So my mom answered the phone, and then she came to see me, and then yes, it was the phone call from the police where he was in the central of France to say that they had found him. He had died, maybe he had killed himself through gas, so I think quite quickly the smell of gas was reached neighbors or something like that, so he had died not that long ago. When you talk about seeing an energy field merging another energy field, it has nothing to do with this dimension, with this realm. So for a very long time, I couldn't really understand what I had seen, but that was the moment of his death. Quite a while later, I can't remember if it's, let's say, a year later, again, during a night, during my sleep, I had a vision where I connected with him. I was very present with him, but him not as he had been when he was alive. But I was, or we were, at a scale of planets. I was being able to witness a landscape as if I was able to be at the level of planets, literally, and it was like gigantic wheels spinning. And what was incredible is that landscape was also emanating a music, a melody, as if everything was one, the melody, the landscape, the size of it, the space even between those planets or those wheels, those structures, and his being, all of that was just one. And funnily enough, he was a musician, and there was music emanating from this landscape, and I was very privileged to have access to that dimension of where he was at that time.